Hi, everybody. My name is Barbara Fernandez. I'm a speech language pathologist, and I am the developer, one of the developers of the bilingual articulation and phonology assessment. Earlier today, I got an email from one of the authors of BAPA, Ellen Kester, asking about utilizing BAPA virtually in the middle of all of this, that everybody is just confined at home. And we decided to do a recorded chat to go over on how you guys can use BAPA at home. Hi, Ellen. It's nice getting together and talking about this.
Yes, it is. Thanks for acting so promptly.
One of
the things that we've been hearing from people in our community is, how are we going to do assessments? And we can absolutely do assessments. I know a lot of people are concerned about standardized scores not being exactly the same across things, but we can use our clinical judgment. We can use the qualitative data, and we can use tools like this one that will be in the same format that they were created in.
Yeah. I think just to give some people who don't know BAPA a little bit of context. So the BAPA is a bilingual articulation and phonology assessment that was standardized, and it is standardized even though it was not standardized by this format. And I would like to hear your thoughts, Ellen, because I know some people are going to be wondering about this, if it was standardized as a test to be performed or implemented face-to-face. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, we did do the norming face-to-face, but the interaction is the clinician with a tool. So typically it would be this iPad right here, and we would show the child the picture on the screen, and then we mark any errors. Okay, so when we're doing this via computer, Barbara's going to show you all here shortly. You plug your iPad into the computer, and you're going to see the same visual. They will see the same visual on the screen. It's the same voice prompt that you get. So really, this system is very similar to what you get when you're sitting person to person. Still got the same picture on a screen with the same prompt.
Yeah, I cut a little bit there, but one interesting thing is that when you think that how much more efficient and nice it would be for a child to be able to look at something on a screen that it's directly posted on their own computer screen or their own iPad screen, versus having to hold a picture here of a paper-based assessment. Mm-hmm. I think it's so much more effective to be able to see clearly directly on the screen, unless people are using some sort of camera to capture the assessment separately. I think the BAPA is one of these ideal tools for what we are living currently. Yeah, so I want to know, what are you guys currently using are you guys doing a specific platform for delivering therapy or services?
We've been using Zoom. That is the approach that we've taken. And it seems to be working really well. We have occasional periods where the screen will freeze up for a moment, but for the most part, it's been really good. And we've been able to hand controls over to the families, to work with our clients who can point to things on the screen and circle things. And so it's been fun. It's been a big learning curve for us over the last week and a half since we started doing therapy, but it's been great.
Now, I think this is going to be a big shift. We're seeing lots of changes, and for us having to adapt in doing service delivery, it will be, I think it would change the way we deliver services forever.
I think so too. I will say one thing about the BAPA that I just love is the automated scoring on it. And when we went to do some work for a district that hadn't approved BAPA, I thought, oh my gosh, I can't go back to scoring those articulation tests by hand. There's no way. So I've made a deal with them. I'll do your evaluations, but I've got to be able to use BAPA or iTAP. Either one of those. And it's just so efficient. It's so much more effective. Yeah, nobody will want to go back.
One thing that I wanted to do first is, talk about how it is possible to, especially for people who are using Zoom, to connect their iPad directly from connect the iPad directly to the computer so that you can show anything that you have on your iPad screen. And since BAPA is completely digital, it's just it works seamlessly with Zoom, because Zoom has a button that you can just share anything that is on an iPad screen. I'm gonna share, the first thing that I wanna share here is a photo I took of my setup so that you guys have an idea of what it is that I am looking at. So here with this goofy photo of me, I have my computer, I have a MacBook Pro, but it really doesn't matter if you're using a Windows computer or a MacBook, as long as you have a way to connect your iPad to your computer. For my MacBook to connect the iPad, this is an older generation iPad, so I'm having to have this adapter here to go from this type of end to the new ending on the MacBook Pro. If you have a newer version of iPads, then you can go directly from the iPad into the computer. And the end result is what I'm gonna actually switch, because I do want you guys to see how it is that I'm doing this. I'm gonna take a screenshot here of what it is that I took a screenshot of what I'm about to do. Ellen, can you see a screenshot of my desktop? I don't know if you share.
No, what I see is the picture of your setup still. There we go. There's your desktop.
And so what you're seeing is what happens when you click on share. So right now, the button here says new share, but that's because I was already sharing a photo from my computer. But if it's a brand new share, you just click on share screen. This is what the button would be called. And in the end, you will see a couple options here. There is an iPhone, iPad via AirPlay, which is a possibility of not even needing to connect your iPad to the computer. You can just do it via AirPlay. But today I'm just gonna do the easier, which is connecting via the cable. So I'm gonna stop the share here so that I can actually do a real share from my computer, my iPad screen, so that we can actually take a look at BAPA and how nicely it integrates with any kind of telehealth. Go ahead and share.
Now, Barbara, could you plug that in just with a USB port, through the USB port in an older?
Yes. Okay. If your MacBook is kind of an older MacBook that has a USB port, mine doesn't have a USB port anymore. Because it's kind of one of those newer that has a Fire in. It's a different kind of entry. It doesn't have USB.
Okay.
So I had to use that adapter. But if you were looking at probably a 2016, 2017 MacBook, then it has the USB and you just connect it directly. This is also considering you have an older iPad. So a 2017 and older iPad. Because if you have a newer iPad, then you have to convert the other way.
Okay. So
what you're looking at, you can see my iPad screen, right? Yeah, so this is basically my iPad screen with all the apps, and I'm gonna start BAPA. And this is basically the app. If you already own BAPA, you can just go ahead and connect and open BAPA and do your assessment. If you don't have BAPA yet, it's an easy going to the App Store, downloading BAPA, and then going through the process that we just discussed. Ellen, would you like to take over showing BAPA?
You want to give me the controls?
Let me see if there is, because now I want it to be more advanced. Yeah. How about we go ahead and show people about adding a new student?
Okay, let's do that. Okay, so we're going to type in a student name here, and then we are going to do a date of birth. And to do this, you want to flip the year back first, because it won't let you go to a date in the future. So always start with the year. And then that's actually very close to my actual birthday, except for the 2011 part. It's December 20. If you want to test in both languages, if your student is bilingual, you're going to pick both here.
Are you testing bilingual chat today?
Yes. And then You can check your dialectal influences. Let's say Mexico.
And then we entered our new student there.
And then we need to go find them in the menu. There we go. LNK,
Right.
8 years old. Then up in the right corner, we're going to click New Assessment. Then we get to pick which one we want to start with, English or Spanish. Let's start with Spanish.
It's possible for people to give prompts directly because the audio is here connected. So if I tap here on the image,
Pan.
It has the audio and that sounds really clear.
It does. It sounds very clear on my end as well. And that's, again, that's exactly, if I was doing this with a student and we touched the screen, they would hear that same voice saying "pan." So really the same prompts that you would get in real life.
Yeah.
And then from here, if there's an error, you're going to mark it by touching the letters on your screen. Now, Barbara, are you doing that on your iPad and it's showing up? Okay.
Yes.
So you're holding your iPad.
Everything that we want to do, we interact directly with the iPad, and the computer is just serving as a monitor.
Okay, that's great. And so then let's say this child said pod instead of pan. We're going to hit substitution, and then we would select the D, and there's your error. And then swipe and get to the next prompt. And then we just go through the prompts like that. Let's show one that is a cluster reduction. Can we get to a word that has a cluster in it so that we can show everybody how we would?
Yeah. Do you want to talk about this one first?
Let's talk about this. So this is a cool feature. The language that you pick first when you select bilingual, it offers the 2 languages as options, and it goes through 7 items. If you get through 7 items and a child really may not have the language skills to do this language, then you can say no, and it will go directly to the other language and give you only the norms for that side. If you say yes, then you continue through this language, and then it'll switch to English once you get through all of the Spanish items.
Do you think our child has enough Spanish to continue?
Let's say no, so that then we can show people how we can switch over to English.
All right, so you saw here we have conejo, and then we swipe it over once we said no, and we went to English.
Bed.
We have bed.
And let's go take a look at some
Beehive.
a cluster reduction here. Oh, there you go.
There's one, bridge. Let's say the child says bidge and not bridge. So there we're going to click cluster reduction and then the B to say, so then your transcription shows what they say. You select the sound that they used. We can also do, maybe let's switch to one and say the child said bubba for bubble or ba for bus, either one. Let's say bubba for bubble. Then we would just hit the L and say deletion, and then that goes away. So what we end up with at the end, after we go through this, is a list of all the words with the transcriptions that the child said, and calculations for every sound in every word position. So it's great. It's normed, and you have amazing qualitative data. One of the things that all of us at Bilinguistics do after we administer this test is we email the results to ourselves, and then we just take that and we plunk it right into our reports. So then whoever the treating SLP is has all of their baseline data right there ready to go. So it's really efficient, and you will never want to use another speech and language or speech assessment after you've done this, because it really will save you tons of time.
Yeah, and you took away all my aha moments, Ellen.
Oh, I'm sorry, Barbara.
So once we finish the test here, one of the cool things here, for example, we pause it for some reason. You needed to pause this assessment, especially now with COVID-19. If the child had to run away and you had to pick this back up on the next session. You saw we paused, and if I tap back on it, it takes us back exactly to the screen that you were the previous session so that you can resume this assessment. This is a super useful little feature, but I want to show you guys what happens now when you have a complete assessment. And this is something that you can even utilize if you end up having to stay at home for a long time and having to discuss with parents the results of BAPA 2 or 3 or 4 weeks from the assessment that you have just completed. You can also use BAPA to discuss the data from the assessment because it has beautiful graphs. Let's take a look here. So this was a Spanish, let's take a look at the Spanish only result here. You have the age of the child when it was administered, the language what it was administered, the overall intelligibility, a raw score, a standard score, you have a confidence interval and percentile rank right in that initial screen. But if you click on preview results, then you can have a better picture of the child's performance. And they're talking about qualitative information. And I think this is just so important for, creating goals and effective goals for therapy. I think this is one of my favorite tabs, is the words tab. It shows you specific errors that you just marked. So for example, here in fruta, we had a cluster reduction of the R. You can also take a look at the multisyllabic words and the specific errors on the assessment.
That's really cool, isn't it?
I love it. And my favorite part is I always like to let people touch just to view this part. This really is the beauty of BAPA, right? It's, Ellen, how much time does this save a typical clinician within bilinguistics?
Right. This is the punch of a button. Once you've just marked your errors as you've gone, which is super quick and easy. And it's one of those things you get faster at it. So the first couple times you kind of have to figure out where the sounds are, but they are in the same place every time. And so it is a super fast process of marking the errors when you go through. And then look at this, look at the data that you end up with. It is so beautiful. And so we take this and copy, so it goes into your email. Take it, copy it, plunk it right into your larger report if you are doing a separate report. If you're only testing a child for articulation phonology, this could be your full report. But usually for us, we are doing school-based evaluations, and we'll take this piece and it'll go right into the assessment report that we're writing for the bigger picture with language and all the cognitive components and all of that.
Yeah, and here, you talk about emailing out. Once you pick HTML for the email, if there's a part of the report that you want to omit or that you want to edit, you can enter your own information. So let's say for some reason you don't like this statement, you can delete it and you can customize your own statement directly here, prior to emailing. So this is an editable text when you do the HTML option. And the other option is to also have the PDF option, which ends up with the prettier graphs, but you can't edit.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. One of the things that we didn't show is we didn't show how that the BAPA can also be utilized for your monolingual English speaker.
Yes, that's right.
And the way you do this is as you're entering the name of child, we put in a name, you pick the language and you pick English. And now you're able to just administer English within BAPA, or BAPA has a sister application called iTAP, and that's our English only evaluation that is similar to the BAPA test, but for English speakers.
And one of the things I want to point out with that is that those are separate sets of norms. So for monolingual English speakers, we have one set of norms, and then it was normed on bilingual English speakers as well. And then there is a Spanish set of norms. So that's a really important piece, because we do see a number of Spanish influenced English patterns. And so we mark those when we go through. If a child makes a Spanish influenced English error in their testing, we note it, but know that that is incorporated into the norms, those kinds of errors that are typical for our students.
Now, this is, yeah, this is great.
Yes.
I love BAPA.
Me too.
I don't get to administer it myself, but every time that I talk to a clinician that has actually used BAPA, it's one of these, you become just a BAPA advocate.
Yeah.
It's one of those tools that it's really, life-changing professionally for bilingual SLPs.
Yeah, it is. It's a great tool. The pictures are amazing. The students interact beautifully with it. They honestly get excited. So when you're sitting and administering a language test with an easel, and at the end you pull out the iPad, they're like, yes, I get to do something on the screen. So now they're going to be doing everything on the screen, but this is totally set up to where you are administering exactly what you would be administering if you were sitting right there next to them. So a great tool that is going to be really effective for all of us as we are trying to figure out how we do our jobs from afar, remotely. We can absolutely conduct evaluations for our students and get effective information. So I really hope that we are hearing. Somebody said to me today, I think we're just going to stop doing evaluations until school starts again in August. Wow. Okay, we don't need to do that. We don't need to wait half a year to do evaluations and put kids on hold for that long. We have tools that we can use to effectively evaluate students in this manner.
Yeah, no, that was great.
Yeah.
Oh, I am so grateful that you sent me that message and we got to connect from our own homes.
Yeah, me too.
To show people how to make this happen. We are all trying to figure out, and it's great that this tool is COVID proof.
It is. It is. And I love the spontaneity of throwing this together. It's great.
Yeah, yeah. If anybody has any questions, you're welcome to either reach to me with Smarty Ears or with Alan at Bilinguistics. We are happy to help you guys kind of navigate using BAPA with your telehealth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, Alan, this was great.
Yeah, enjoyed it. Take care.
Yeah, you too.